Hi, my dear friends. In this video, I'm going to briefly talk about frequency tables. I'm going to touch upon the concept of weight cases and how that applies to frequency tables. I have produced videos on specifically about frequency tables and R and SPSS and other tools and how to create frequencies in terms of distributions or charts and tables. But in this video, I'm going to specifically talk about how the weight cases can imply or apply to basic frequency tables and how assigning or using or not using weight case component of SPSS can affect how we produce a table in SPSS. So to get started, um, I have a table that has two variables. The first variable is the profession, which is a categorical variable. Second one is success index, which is a quantitative variable. So let's imagine that we conducted a survey of random participants in the public, where we asked the participants about what their profession is, or at least what profession or what sector they're working in. Maybe profession is not the right terminology here, and then also what they would rate their success index in terms ranging from, let's say, 30 to 100 or 1 to 60 or 70. It's just a dummy data, so the idea here is to deliver the usability of frequency tables and weight cases. So forgive me in that regard. So let's run a frequency analysis of create a frequency table without the use of weight cases. I just want to make sure that it's the weight case off, which it is. I'm going to produce a table here, a frequency table, and I'm going to use a profession, which is again a categorical variable here. And I'm going to also create a chart, maybe a bar chart, uh, besides the table. So I'm going to click on OK. All right. One second. The table is created on the second screen. I have to move it over. There you go. So as you can see, the numerical attribute of these categories that SPSS captures is pretty much the numerical frequency attribution of those rows. In other words, just how many times were each of these categories were actually uh, captured, were actually recorded in the data set, and that's all you see. And as you can see in the frequency table, just a little, a brief refreshing of what frequency tables are. Frequency tables are nothing but a table that provides or demonstrates the number of frequencies, or the number of occurrence of each of those data points on your table. So as you can see, each of these categories: entrepreneur, government, and private, and these are, again, just pretend that we conducted a survey, and each of the participants in the survey had the option of expressing what profession they work in. An entrepreneur, they're either entrepreneur, they work for the government sector, or they work for the private sector. And so the number of people that we run into were 22, out of which six of them were entrepreneurs, five of them were government employees, and 11 of them were private sectors. And so when we break those numbers down by their percentage allocations, 27.3% were entrepreneurs, 22.7% were government employees, and 50% were private employees. And then that's the valid percent. Just in case we have missing data, then the valid percent will be different in a way where the valid percentage captures the data without the inclusion of null values or any dirty data in our data set. An accumulated percentage, of course, is how these percentages accumulate, going from the lowest, starting at 27.3, and then that adds up to 22.7, accumulatively sums up to 50, and then adds up to 50, which accumulates to 100%. So I'm sure You guys already know that. And this is the bar chart. So there are two things in here. The first one we just covered, that a frequency table is pretty much basically you're just providing a rundown of your data points in terms of their number of occurrences, and mostly it works with categorical data, but also with numerical data, but it has more applicability used with categorical data. But then, um, how do we capture, let's say, the numerical attribute of uh, uh, these categorical professions? So instead of having 22 data points, which are these number of rows, how can we actually count for the sum of successes or the sum of success indicators, which is this measure? How can we have a frequency where we have the categories as well as we have the aggregated measurement of those categories, which is nothing but this specific column or variable. So in that case, we simply go to weight cases, and then again, as I said in my previous video, we assign that a specific measurement as a weight case for our frequency variable, for a categorical frequency variable, in which case we did it and we just assigned it, click on OK. Now let's run another descriptive analysis for frequency table. And this time, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to keep the profession variable, and we're going to run. There you go. And as you can see, this time we actually did not count for the uh, the number of occurrences, frequencies, which is 22 in total. But this time we actually aggregated this measure, or this numerical column here, where instead of having 6 occurrences for entrepreneurs, we have 324 frequencies or summation of those frequencies aggregated here. Same thing with 231 and 597. So if we were to say which people from which profession are the most successful, it's not the number of occurrences or frequencies that actually talks about it. Well, maybe the number of occurrences or frequencies can talk about how many percent of people, when we went out and we conducted a random data survey or data collection, and then we found out that uh, found out that 50% of overall population in XYZ country or city are employees of private sector, 22.7 are employees of government sector, and 27.3% are employees of are in entrepreneurs. And so that could be statistics, or some sort of data to explain, to infer what the profession, or what category do the people, do the employees in public that we surveyed fall under. But in this one, we're looking at this specific measure of success, in which case, although let's say one of these categories may have less number of occurrences, but may have more aggregated measures, or in this case summation, in which case private sector are apparently, but don't believe it, are people with more success, success indicator indices, or the most successful of all the other sectors in the workforce. And then the entrepreneurs are the second, and then the government employees are the last, although their frequencies really are different. So I hope that you learned how to simply create a distribution, a tabulation of frequencies of categorical variable alone, and also a measure of that categorical variable when you assign a weight to it, as well as you also learned how to understand the concept of weighting something in SPSS, and how to apply that in a practical scenario. Thank you so much. Until next time.